Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to this edition of Tider Insider Television. Across the studio from Rodney Orr, as we continue to social distance here at WVUA 23, I'm Gary Harris, and we haven't seen what we saw yesterday in a long, long time, Rodney. It was an Alabama football practice for the first time. Video practice since before the Citrus Bowl. And this is from today's workout. You see those big offensive linemen. My gosh, they're monstrous. So excited about having Dylan Moses back, the leader of that defense. Look at Mac Jones. Look how big and strong he's gotten. Bryce Young, the freshman, both those guys throwing the football. Of course, Paul Tyson working there at quarterback as well. Rodney, you know, I know we didn't get to go out there yesterday or today, or we won't get to go to practice, period. But you watched the video. RollTide.com and Crimson Tide Sports Network did put out about 4.5 minutes worth of video for us. And there you see Najee. He looks fast and fit. Just your impressions. I know it's not the same thing as being on the field, but after watching the video, what were some takeaways you had from yesterday and as you watch this video from today?
Yeah, very difficult to tell, Gary. I mean, obviously just looking at the video, but I'll tell you this, seems to be a lot of enthusiasm, certainly. Typical Nick Saban practices, a lot of intensity. You hear a lot of noise out there, a lot of moving around, certainly. And you look at the players, and from what we can tell, Gary, they certainly look good. As we like to say, they look very good on the hoof.
Yeah, absolutely. What a good-looking football team. They've talked all summer about the work from David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray and the other new strength coaches. It seems to be paying off. All right, question is still, even with the schedule having been released and in games and so forth, will we play football? It's something that is a fluid situation, but Devontae Smith says the players certainly intend to play.
Well, I believe if I was thinking about not playing, I wouldn't be here right now. But just really get my degree and just wanting to come back and finish things the right way. I didn't like the way that we did things last year and the way that we finished, so just coming back to finish things the right way this year.
Ronnie, you heard Devontae Smith say it right there. We want to finish things the right way. You know, he made a decision to come back. Leatherwood did. Moses did. Najee Harris did. Others that could be getting paid right now. Let's be honest. They could be in NFL training camps getting paid. Instead, they're back here for a season that we keep our fingers crossed will be played, but there's no guarantee. But that shows their commitment not only to get better and improve their stock for the draft, but also, as he said, to get Alabama back to where it expects to be. And that's not sitting at home during the SEC championship game or playing in the Citrus Bowl. No offense to the Citrus Bowl, but this program has higher aspirations than that.
Yeah, I think they certainly have a lot that they want to prove, Gary. And again, that comment there by Devontae Smith, the direct question was if he was considering opting out due to the virus. And you heard what he said. If he was considering that, he wouldn't be standing there at that time. So he plans on playing. Possibly Coach Saban talked about this yesterday. There could be a player or two or a few that opt out. But at this point, there's certainly nothing, no indication that's been given of anyone that has done that at this point.
Yeah, and with that in mind, and I'm not going to say that there aren't other programs in the country where these players are focused, but throughout the summer here at Alabama, we've heard a lot of commotion going on at other campus about players. Are they going to play? Are they not going to play? And here, for the most part, I can't think of any instance where we've heard any negativity from a player in regards to the coaching staff and how it's handled everything with the virus, or any negativity. These players here at Alabama have been on the same page and one mission, and that's to play football this year.
Yeah, and I think it's possible you could have a player opt out or two. I mean, that certainly would not be something that would be a surprise. But Alabama, the coaching staff, has certainly made it very clear that if there's something you're not comfortable with, there's something you're not comfortable with in terms of participation, then you're entitled to your right to not do that. So, and Coach Saban made that clear last night when he spoke to us. And, certainly I do agree with you, Gary. I think that the players, when you look at them, they seem very committed to playing this season. And I think, obviously, we're certainly hoping that they can do that.
All right, speaking of Coach Saban, it's now time for Coach Talk here on TITV. And the Alabama head coach met with reporters following practice on Monday via Zoom. There were questions about safety in this time of a coronavirus pandemic. But Coach was also asked about football. The 10-game SEC schedule for 2020 is something that he's, down with. Remember, he's been pushing for a 9-game schedule anyway for quite some time.
I mean, I've been a guy that's been wanting to play 10 SEC games for a long time. So this year we get to do that. I think it's good for our players who get the opportunity to create value against 10 really quality opponents, in our league. And I think it's going to be very challenging because, it's going to be every week you're going to have a very, very good opponent. But I think it's, good for the fans. Hopefully it'll create a lot of interest.
And here's the Alabama schedule. We've got it for you. The Tide will kick it off September 26th against Mizzou in Columbia. The Iron Bowl is still on Thanksgiving weekend, but it's not the Tide's final regular season game. Alabama will go to Fayetteville to play Arkansas on December 5th. You just hope there's no frozen precipitation when they go up to Fayetteville in December. There could be. But you see the schedule there. You see Georgia. And this is interesting. A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee back-to-back-to-back-to-back. That means you get Fisher, Kiffin, Smart, and Pruitt, all former Alabama and Nick Saban assistants wanting to be the first to knock off, or our Nick Saban assistants want to be the first one to ever knock him off. Ronnie, your thoughts on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way it sets up pretty well, Gary. I think, the opportunity to go to Missouri first, then you come home, Texas A&M, certainly going to be a team that, really could challenge for the SEC West. I think this is a team that this is their year to take that next step. And again, you look at that, then 2 weeks later, you've got Georgia coming into town. I mean, that's certainly a game that's been marked on the schedule for quite some time. And I thought the interesting thing, though, too, Gary, there had been a lot of speculation about the possibility of moving Auburn up to the front half of the schedule. Obviously, that didn't happen. It's in basically the same spot that it's always been. LSU's in the same spot that it's always been. And speaking of Arkansas in that last game, I'm thinking back. The last game I can remember is a regular season game that wasn't Auburn in the season finale. Would have been, 1988 when they had the cancellation game to the Hurricane Gilbert?
How about 2001?
Yeah.
Southern Mississippi.
Well, that may have been as well.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
Yeah.
You're certainly right. Due to 9/11.
You had A&M in 88.
Due to 9/11, yeah.
Yeah.
But A&M in 1988 when Alabama went to College Station. So it's been a while.
Yeah, and in that 2001 game at Legion Field against Southern Miss, it was a monsoon. Remember, they canceled the A&M game in 88, Rodney, you referred to, because they thought there was going to be a hurricane, and then it was beautiful weather. But then in 2001, they played Southern Miss, the 9/11 postponement in a thunderstorm. All right, in Tuscaloosa, the mask mandate and other safety protocols are about to face a big challenge. On Sunday, Alabama's Chris Owens posted this picture on social media showing a large crowd gathered near campus on the Strip. Owens captioned the photo, quote, "How about we social distance and have more than a literal handful of people wear a mask?" The photo got attention, and others as well. Among the people to respond, Alabama Director of Athletics Greg Byrne, Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox, and head coach Nick Saban's daughter. Rodney, I said on my radio show that I don't have any problem masking up. I am masking up. I do think to some degree that some of the national media got carried away with it when they said this is why we can't have football, or if we don't have football. I think that's a little bit over the top. Having said that, it's not that hard to put on a mask. It's if nothing else, even if you don't think about the safety, it's proper etiquette in this time. So wear a mask. And if we don't have football, don't let them blame you. Right, Rob?
Yeah.
No, do what you need to do.
Yeah, I think so, Gary. And again, I know it was really hot that day. I think that difficult to wear a mask in that heat, I know. But again, like you said, the social distancing is certainly a key factor as well. And but look, I think the message has been sent. And, hopefully things will be, from now on, much smoother.
Indeed. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama baseball believes it's found a future pitching gym from just up the road. And Crimson Tide football is sizzling on the recruiting trail. Rodney will break down the latest Tide commitments. That's coming up next. You'll want to stick around for it. And also, we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, the phone number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us at the address on your screen, or you can tweet at us. Use the hashtag TITV so that we will see it. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the award-winning Tider Insider TV. Welcome back to TITV. Seated across the studio from Tider Insider's Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Alabama football is as hot as the August heat on the recruiting trail. Monday night, one of the top high school quarterbacks in the class of 2021, Jalen Milroe from Tompkins High School in Katy, Texas, flipped from Texas to Alabama. The four-star dual threat, announced it on social media. He'd been committed to Texas since July of 2019. Last Saturday, Alabama got a commitment from JUCO cornerback Kyrie Jackson from nearby East Mississippi Community College over in Scuba. #1 JUCO corner in the country, 6'3". That's the thing. Some people say I've talked to some people over there in Mississippi say he's about 6'4". Really long, athletic cornerback. Also on Saturday, Monkel Goodwine, a 4-star strong side defensive end, picked Alabama over Clemson, Kentucky, and Texas A&M. Goodwine is 6'4" and 264 pounds. He's one of those guys from that recruiting-rich area for Alabama up in the DMV, the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. All right, Rodney, let me bring you in for some analysis. Let's start with Jalen Milroe. This is a guy who might have committed to Alabama anyway. But Drake May recruited first. Then Drake May flipped to North Carolina. It opened up a spot for a quarterback in this class, and it will be Milroe. I've talked to some people that say a little bit like Jalen Hurts in high school, a little bit raw, but athletic and extremely, as you see, just that kind of talent that you cannot teach.
Yeah, I think he's actually a little faster than Jalen was in high school. I think he's a little more athletic than Jalen was in. But now listen, can he be as productive as a quarterback? That's another question. But look at him on the run, throwing the ball with some polish. Gary, he's got a chance to be really, really good. But a tremendous athlete. You remember a couple of weeks ago we had a caller ask about him, and I said keep your eye on Jalen Milroe. Who had been committed to Texas. But you're right. I think he would have originally committed to Alabama last summer. This
keeps this great. I mentioned we're going to get to Goodwine in a moment from up there in that DMV area, but the state of Texas this year for Alabama, wow, how fruitful. And Bama may not be done out there in the Lone Star State.
Oh, no question. I mean, when you talk about going to Texas and getting – look, he was committed to the University of Texas for a year. And to go out there and get him's really phenomenal. What about the Brockemeyer brothers with all their connections there to that program? Going there and doing that. You've got other players. You mentioned certainly several other prospects that Alabama's recruiting in that state that I think they're in good position with. Actually, Milroe has a teammate, a defensive end that's really good that was formerly committed to Ohio State that Alabama's in on as well.
Yeah, I bet. All right, Kyrie Jackson, the junior college corner from nearby East Mississippi Community College for Coach Buddy Stevens. Yeah. This is the modern-day corner. I mean, let's be honest. The way these receivers are now, as physical as they are, I'm not saying you can't play corner at 5'9", but it can be difficult. At 6'3", that's the kind of height that you covet now as a secondary coach.
Well,
hard to find, though, for corners.
When you look at him, Gary, physically, the height and all that, kind of like Drake Kirkpatrick. You remember he had that great height as well. And, he can play corner. Can play safety. He's got a lot of versatility. Obviously, a tremendous athlete. And I'm telling you, his video at wide receiver looks really good as well. So this guy's just an extremely talented cornerback prospect, no question. Or, like I said, could play safety as well.
Yeah, and he could wind up having 3 years of eligibility because we don't know what East Mississippi's football status is, whether or not he'll play at all this fall or spring. All right, let's get to Monkel Goodwine. And this is a guy I know that you've really, really been watching and you like a lot.
Yeah, I think anytime you can get a top-notch defensive lineman, you can't ever pass them up. And out of the state of Maryland, at Fort Washington, Maryland, tremendous prospect, Gary, when you look at him. He has the size. He has all the things you look at. But I'll tell you this. The one thing I really like about Monkel Goodwine is some guys, you hear them talk about in high school, well, he takes a play off. He takes a play off. He never takes a play off. Monkel Goodwine's motor is always running. He's a guy that's in relentless pursuit. He tracks down ball carriers from sideline to sideline. That's called desire. They're not going to have to coach him up in terms of having the desire to want to play every play, Gary.
Yeah, Alabama now number 2 in the national recruiting rankings behind Ohio State, and as they used to say on the Billboard music chart, Alabama's rising with a bullet. They might catch OSU before it's all said and done. Well, Alabama baseball also scored another commitment. Boy, they're on a roll too. Hueytown's Alton Davis, who plays at Bessemer Academy. He's a lefty. He's in the class of 2022. Tall, rangy, got good stuff. His sister, as they keep it in the family, is a softball player at Alabama, Kayla Davis. So welcome to Alton Davis for Alabama baseball. Well, still to come, Tide golfer Wilson Furr played like a pro at the U.S. Amateur and scored a significant distinction. We'll explain. And up next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the phone number, 205-348-9882. Call in now if you want to get through and talk with us here on TITV. We'll be right back. At last week's U.S. Amateur Men's Golf Championship up in Oregon, Bama golfer Wilson Furr had one of the most memorable performances by any Alabama golfer ever in the event. He earned medalist honors in the stroke play portion by shooting a course record 962 in the second round. He joins Bobby Wyatt as golfers to earn the medalist award in the stroke play portion. Of course, Jerry Pate won the U.S. Amateur back in 1974, but Wilson Furr, and he's got another year at Alabama, has a chance to be a spectacular golfer for the Crimson Tide. All right, it is time to take some phone calls and get to some emails. And I understand we're headed over to Gadsden first up tonight. Let's go ahead and go to the phone line. And let's talk with Harold. It's actually Anniston. I'm sorry, Harold. Harold's in Anniston, of course. Good evening, Harold. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Gary?
Doing well.
Hey, Rodney, that was me asking you about Jalen Miro last week, man.
Yeah.
You were right on about it, too, man. I had a feeling we'd get him.
Yeah, listen, Harold, it's a big pickup. Alabama needed a quarterback in this class, and to be able, when you get a player of the magnitude of Bryce Young last year, to come back and follow that up with a quarterback the magnitude of the quality of Jalen Milroe, hey, listen, that's some really top-notch recruiting right there.
All right, Harold, thank you for the phone call. Yeah, another big-time pickup. And just think, next year you could have Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Paul Tyson, Jalen Milroe all on scholarship at Alabama. Let's get to an email. And this is from Larry in Tuscaloosa. Will Alabama be favored in every game? Larry, right now the answer is yes. Yeah, in the preseason. Now, that could change based on what happens this season. You know, you have the preseason lines, and then as you go through the season, the lines will adjust. If Alabama were, let's say, to drop a couple of games, then maybe later in the year they won't be favored. But right now, Rodney, in all 10 games Alabama is scheduled to play, if there were a line available for them right now, they would be favored.
Yeah, you know, Gary, and I was looking at the way the schedule stacked up. You know, you take Texas A&M, and originally Alabama was scheduled to play them the week before the Auburn game. Think about that. I mean, wow, that was going to be a real difficult stretch. Now, again, I think who precedes Auburn now? Kentucky, is that right? Good team. But certainly I think the schedule, kind of the way it shifted, would favor Alabama a little bit.
All right, thanks for that email, Larry. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jason is with us from over in Brilliant. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Hey, Gary, Rodney. I don't understand why we got people in the government that's controlling our favorite pastime when they think the coronavirus is going to shut down everything. It's worse than the flu. When more people is dying of the flu, and why they're letting them control our lives.
All right, Jason. Well, we don't really get into politics on this show. I'll say this. There's a lot going on with this pandemic, a lot of strong emotions involved. The government's not controlling college football. The Big Ten canceled or postponed college football. The Pac-12 did. The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. Rodney, it's up to them whether they play. The government has not said you can't play. I want to be clear on that, right?
Yeah, no question about it. You know, I think the irony of it all, Gary, is the Big Ten Commissioner, Kevin Warren, his son is a player at Mississippi State. So they've canceled their season, but his son may actually be playing here in the SEC this season. So that could be a real interesting, circumstance. But you're right, Gary. I think that it is, again, I just think that everyone ought to try their best to take all the precautions necessary. And, hopefully we have a season.
All right, more phone calls coming up on TITV. We'll be right back after this. There's the phone number where you can get in touch with us. Welcome back to TITV with Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's get right back to the phone lines, and CB is with us here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, CB.
Hey, buddy, how y'all doing today?
Doing great.
I tell you, we're getting a lot of quarterbacks, but, the lot of them just, Alabama has got such, legend for quarterbacks. We've had great quarterbacks since Columbus sailed. But all these cats ain't going to get to play. I don't know how that works, but is it just Alabama or what?
At CB, it's kind of the nature of the position. I mean, you can only play one at a time, but you got to make sure your roster has several more than one. So it's a unique position. Alabama recruits, as you alluded to, the creme de la creme. It just works itself out. That's all I can tell you. It's worked itself out since Nick Saban has been here. It worked itself out with Jalen and Tua. It's going to work itself out with these quarterbacks. The best one's going to wind up playing. everybody's going to get an opportunity, and it just kind of sorts itself out. But, Rodney, it's not just at Alabama. A lot of times guys come in, they don't get the opportunity or don't feel like they've, gotten the opportunity, and they wind up transferring elsewhere. It's kind of the nature of the position.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of them on the move now. You see a lot of grad transfer quarterbacks now with the transfer portal. Guys constantly on the move. CB, again, you've got to keep restocking that quarterback room because you need at least 3. I mean, when you're talking about on scholarship, most schools like to carry a minimum of 4. So Alabama right now heading into this season is down 1 at 3. So, hopefully they can get that restocked.
All right, real quickly, let's get to an email from Tiffany in Northport. Did Joshua McMillan come back? Josh McMillan, the linebacker, he did. Tiffany, I'm proud to report. One of my favorite guys on the team, just because of the way he handles himself. And last year was his 5th year. He was going to be a starter. Rodney, he gets lost for the season, gets that rare 6th year. I don't know what his playing status will be with this group of linebackers, but he's good to have on your football team. I know that.
There is no question about that. When you're talking about leader, number 40 right there, Josh McMillan, certainly a tremendous leader. Gary, a guy that's got, has been in the program for a long time and understands the defense, so he certainly can help a lot of the younger players.
Absolutely. Thanks for the phone calls and the emails. Still to come, former Crimson Tide linebacker Rashaan Evans prepares for the football season the best way he knows how. We'll explain on a gorgeous evening here on the University of Alabama campus. We'll be right back. Former Alabama linebacker Rashaan Evans, I always really enjoyed this guy. Had him on my radio show for a regular feature. Now he's with the Tennessee Titans. This is Lochapoka High School, though, where he donated more than $40,000 worth of Adidas gear to help this small high school. He grew up in nearby Auburn, said he felt compelled to help out. Couldn't be there because of COVID-19 and because of training camp, but that's just awesome. Way to go, Rashaan. That's what it's all about. Well, don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch the replay tonight at 10:30 following the news at 10, or you can catch it anytime at WVUA23.com. We'll leave you tonight with more Alabama football practice from day 1 on Monday. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Enjoy these pictures as we close it out. And thanks for watching Tider Insider Television.